Welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss with your hosts, Teresa Reininger and Wayna Berry.
Welcome back to Female Voices, Life and Loss. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Wayna.
Join us for each episode as we explore lived stories, offer gentle insight, and hold space for what it means to navigate life after loss. This is a space for women carrying grief, loss, and life transitions, especially the ones held quietly while still showing up for everyday life. This podcast offers language for what you are feeling and guidance for who you are becoming. And now your hosts, Teresa Reininger and Wayna Berry.
Hello, and welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss. And I am here today. This is Teresa Reininger. But there are definitely moments, I believe, in life when loss changes the way we see everything. Sometimes it's not just the loss of a person, it's the realization of what they gave us, what they've taught us, the legacy that quietly built through the way they lived. Today's guest reminds us that legacy isn't something reserved for end of our lives. It's something we're creating every single day. I'm honored to welcome Jasmyne Cole to the podcast. Jasmyne is a wife, a homeschooling mother. Kudos to you, girl. A storyteller, a contributing author to an anthology, What My Mother Never Told Me. She is passionate about preserving the wisdom, faith, and stories that connect generations of women. So through her writing and conversation, she encourages others to slow down, recognize the beauty in everyday moments, and understand that the greatest legacy is often built in the ordinary.
Yeah.
After losing two monarchs in her family, Jasmyne found herself reflecting not only on what they left behind, but how they lived. That journey inspired a deeper understanding of legacy, healing, and an intentional choice that shaped future generations. So today, we're talking about grief, family, faith, storytelling, and how we each have the opportunity to become the legacy someone else will one day remember. So Jasmyne, welcome. I'm so grateful you are here.
Yeah, me too. What an honor. What an honor.
I feel so honored to have you here. There's so many things that I said about you in that introduction, and we've only briefly talked before, so I'm really excited for you to share with me, share with the audience, so that we can all really appreciate, I'm going to say, our moms and those women in our life.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'd really love to begin with your story. Can you tell us about the women who helped shape your life and what losing them meant for you?
Of course. So there are three women pivotal in the woman that I am today: Pearl, Georgia, and Margie. Margie is my mom, still living, still here, and so much a product of the previous two women. But my great-grandmother, Pearl, and my grandmother, Georgia, those two women showed me so much in such a short bit of time about what it is to be a woman, that at the end of the day, you're not your title, and how really their lives, how they showed up in their lives for each other matters, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making that make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But their lives have impacted my mother and I's relationship so much because they're mother and daughter dynamic, that we're able to have so much more honest, real conversations that allow me to, as you said, see the legacy is in the ordinary. It is in the day-to-day, not this masterfully crafted painting that we want it to be all the time. Sometimes it is in the spills and the drops and the very high moments as well. And the three women that I mentioned they're just everything to me. They really are.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You talked about, and you write about this, in the anthology that you were a part of. When did you first realize that legacy wasn't just what someone leaves behind after they die, but something we're creating every day? When was that a realization to you?
I love that question. I would have to say helping my grandmother take care of her mom, helping
Mhm.
Georgia take care of Pearl. That was probably unbeknown to me, because hindsight's 2020. That's really when I realized, like, oh wait, she's leaving us. Her
Mm.
life is ending. I was only 12, 13 at the time, but I
Mhm.
realized how much of her life my grandmother, Georgia, was carrying. And I was helping, you're a kid and you're with your grandparents and they're like, you're going to do this thing. You don't really have an option to do this thing. You're just going because you have to go. And it was summer and I was so mad. I couldn't be with my friends. And I'm going down into the city to help her take care of my great grandmother, and I didn't know how sick she was, and she was battling dementia,
Oh.
and it was devastating to see the impact that it had on my grandmother, and as I mentioned in the book, like to see her forget who her daughter is. But to see my grandmother treasure these moments while her heart was breaking, it just does something to you when you realize like this is what you're witnessing. This is what
Yeah.
you are seeing. And I think that was the moment when I realized like when she's gone, my grandmother will still carry this. What this thing was, I didn't know was legacy, but I realized
Mhm.
that like this is something I need to remember. This is something I need to carry as well. And it really affected me in beautiful ways, but in ways that I also felt like were very it gave me depth, if that makes sense.
Mm.
It allowed me to
Mhm.
see women more as not just as a mom or as a grandma or as this or as that, but my grandma was a daughter. This is her mom. And it allowed me to have that sensitivity towards women and what we go through as parents, even as
Mhm.
adults taking care of their parents, if that makes sense. So
Sure, sure. We appreciate a lot when we're taking care of them. So, as being one of the contributing authors in that anthology, What My Mother Never Told Me, tell us about
mhm.
your chapter. You just kind of alluded to some of it. Like, it sounds like your grandmother's in that, but what inspired you to share that story? What
Gotcha.
inspired you to say yes to putting that down? Because sometimes family stuff, we want to hold that
Hmm.
tight, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You have a point there. And I think that's also like a really big temptation to be like, and then if you're raised in a house that's also like, what goes on here stays here. You kind of
Yeah,
can take that.
exactly.
You can take that so far into your adulthood.
Yeah.
So for me, I think because of that moment that we just discussed, I think for me that helped build a character or that helped build transparency into my character. So not with everyone, like I was wise. I think God led me to be wise with who I talked to, but there was always a safe space in my life. So I think I've always had this inkling to be able to share or at least glean from people. So even if I'm not telling my business, I'm at least asking, like, how did you navigate something very general? And then that kind of gets
Uh-huh.
refined into these beautiful stories and these gems of wisdom that I've picked up over the years. So when this book
Mhm.
came around, it kind of just fell in line with the things that I had been doing in my life. Like not even really realizing that that's what was being, or I was guided to be doing. So what my mother never told me, to me, wasn't necessarily an opportunity to say like what the title could entail of like, I wish, or it kind of can incite a bit of anger, or your mother
Uh-huh.
could see the title and say, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
didn't see it as that. I saw it more of like, these are things that I've actually caught from her that she didn't really teach me, but that I realized that can be
Mm.
shared. Like, these are things that I think other women probably would love to hear. Not necessarily in the light of only if I would have known this,
Yeah. Okay.
translate well, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense because the title does kind of allude to almost
Hmm.
like angry at our moms that they didn't tell us or
Right.
whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you kind of for sure switch that to things
Hmm.
that they taught us, but they never really said
Yeah.
what it was. That's beautiful. I love that.
The beautiful also thing about that, if I can, is that the other
Sure.
authors were like that too. And I love that. We were all on like this one accord to be able to say these beautiful things about our parents or our moms, or even like how Brittany, the curator, how she kind of even described it to us of, even if that's not directly tied to you, but just the women in your life that you wish like they could have taught me that, or something that you wish more women knew, you know? And I was like, I like that. So that was also a beautiful part of it.
Well, now I have like a two-part question. First, because you said about the other authors, I want you to share how many other authors there are in
Okay.
the anthology. And then I also want, after that, after you share that number, I want you to share with me if there's anything you discovered about yourself while writing that might have surprised you.
You're getting deep.
Okay.
Okay.
You can think about that one while you tell us the number.
Okay, so within the book, we have 15 authors,
Okay.
and
Nice.
and that's across, I
Nice.
believe, 6 cities or states.
Okay. Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
and
What
it's a
surprised
beautiful
you? Yeah.
combination of stories and women put together. But
Awesome.
part two of that question, what surprised me about myself? I would
Yeah.
say what surprised me about myself the most throughout the process was actually being able to see this story
Mm.
and put it out in a way that made sense. I know
Yeah.
that it can seem like, well, of course, you're writing, and of course, and it seems very basic, but I say that because sometimes our stories are very complex and there's so much nuance. There's so many details you want to put in. There's so many things.
Mm.
But as you know, with an anthology, you only have a limited amount of space. You
Right.
only have a limited amount of time to not only craft how you want this true story to be, but also to make the audience gather what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that was surprising that was able to happen because
Yeah.
this is a new space. I'm very new to this. And I think we can get so much in our heads that it's easy to just say, you know what, I'm not doing this. Like, I can't arise to this challenge. And to be able to do that, like I said, it could be for some, could be like, well, that's the point. But for me, it was very it was difficult, and it surprised me that I could do it and it not
That's
be
awesome.
too much or too little, just enough.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, because I don't think people realize, or maybe they do, because we're all in conversation with people all the time.
Yeah.
And we're in conversation, we're trying to share something, and really it's a story about something that happened, or this or that, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we talk in circles sometimes. I'm sure
Yeah.
we've all been with somebody like, okay, are they gonna get to the point? Like, okay, I'm still listening, but okay, I'm very confused. Like there was this and that, and
Yeah.
now they're talking about this. So it is. I hear what you when you said like to be
Yes.
able to articulate all of that and put it in a short chapter with limited
Mm-hmm.
words and it makes sense. And because we don't really need every detail, we just want
Right.
the person reading to really
Mm-hmm.
understand where we're coming from. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's what I thought of when you said that. I'm like, oh yeah, people talk in
Yeah.
circles and what
And
are they trying to tell me?
it is so difficult to kind of land your own plane sometimes. Like
Yeah.
sometimes even you're like, where am I going with this?
Yeah, yeah. What was my point to this? I totally forgot. There's been plenty of times that I have said that in the middle of a
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Yes.
the
What was that?
the squirrel or whatever is like, I don't know.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, so it's not an easy thing, I think,
Mm-mm.
to do. So kudos to you. Congrats on
Thank
that.
you.
I love that you were a part of it. It does. I know I was in an anthology as well. And it did surprise me. It surprised me. It really helped me grow and be better at, I'm going to say, maybe storytelling or whatever to
Yeah.
kind of change how I do that. So it was a great experience
Yes.
for me. There's no doubt about it. And it sounds
It's
like
for
it
you.
was for you as well. Yeah, so let's switch this. Let's talk a little bit about grief and healing and some of those kind of things because I know that was part of it as part of your journey, all of our journeys really in life. So we often think that grief is only about missing someone,
Yeah.
but grief is also changes it changes who we are sometimes. And how did those losses change the way you see yourself now, those women that you lost?
I would say that it changed the way I view life in the ordinary, going back to how legacy is built. Observing again my grandmother taking care of my great grandmother, I was able to see, like, you glean from all the stories and even just the pictures on the wall and, you know, the dated furniture and things like that that hold so much nostalgia for my grandma at the time, that when my great grandmother passed, while I didn't know all the dynamics of their relationship as a kid, my grandma, because like I said, I was like 12 or 13 when my great grandmother passed. I was 21 when my grandmother passed away. So we've had time to flesh out our relationship, you know, and kind of get to know each other even more. And I developed into a young lady by then. So we were especially close to towards the end of her life. I say the last 3 to 4 years, she was opening up in ways that forever changed me and how I viewed her life, how I viewed her marriage, her as a kid, like all these things that then made me think about my life and how I would like to show up and things that she would even warn me of, because we in my family, the women run hot. So we can get going, and it can just be such wisdom of how to realize that there's something beneath it. There's something beneath there. Lean into that and take time with what's beneath your anger. Or even moments where she would say certain things that were wise, and I'm like, why is she telling me this? I don't know anything about what she's saying. But she'd say, keep on living, keep on living. And I'm now still living. I'm like, oh, I see what you meant. I see what you meant. Get that now. I get that. I kept on living, and now I'm understanding more of that. And I think it's just made me realize that even though I'm homeschooling and I can get busy with making sure the right curriculum is there, or I'm developing my kids in a certain way, I have to realize that there are moments that even I have to tell my kids, hey, just keep on living. Realize that mom's saying something here, okay? And that's okay. And to just slow down and see that, like, one day they will look at my life in reverse and go back. And how do I want them to view that? Because I think that's one of the beautiful things that my grandmother and I had conversations about, even along with my mom to this day, where we even talk about how, like, there were a lot of things that had we just slowed down and been like, hey, what is that? Instead of just kind of busying our way through, that we probably would have gleaned more insight in the moment with her and then with each other. So I think that's how that's forever. That's
good stuff to have shared with you. Like, just live life. And yeah, there's a lot to that. There's no doubt about that, for sure.
yeah.
Slow down and breathe and pay attention and all of those things. Be intentional. All of those things I hear you saying, which is beautiful. So a couple things, like, what do you miss about them? And also, what would you say that they would be most proud of you for? This could kind of go together, you know, a little bit if you want. Might be what you miss is what they really feel proud of you about. I don't know. You tell me.
So with Pearl, she had, like I said, I was so young, but she had such a feistiness about her that was just, it was everything. Like, she just, you could just get her, even in that state. She would, like, I knew of her before she passed away, before her dementia diagnosis. So there were little spicy moments then that would just have everybody, like, just cracking up. So you could tell her, like, oh, you look so pretty today. And she'd be like, oh, I know, but thank you. Like, moments like that where I'm like, oh, I just miss that that keen sense of, and she was so self-aware to know she was cute, but also to just be comedic in all her ways. I do miss that about her. And I think that she would be most proud of the fact that I followed the beat of my own drum. Just getting to know who she was growing up and everything. Like, that's what she did. And I think that she would be proud of that I did what I wanted to do, you know. For Georgia, I miss her laugh and I miss her keen sense of sarcasm. I would have to say the most is that she was a God-fearing woman. Never compromised her faith. She stood on it and she would not waver. And even when she didn't understand everything, even when she was going through rough patches in her life, she never wavered from going back to college. I believe she was in her 40s or 50s when she did that. Like, I was going through Spanish cards with her. She was getting her degree for one of her classes. And I just remember her, even in times when she just wasn't getting it, she would literally say, "Help me, Holy Spirit. Just help me, Holy Spirit." I'm like, even in Spanish? And just to know, especially. And I just remember, like, she took God everywhere with her. And that is one thing that I miss, like, the most. And I would say one thing that she would be proud of would be that probably the same. I think the same, that I marched to the beat of my own drum, that I stood for what I wanted to by walking away from work and coming home in this particular way, and not having that infrastructure around to see that modeled, but still did it.
Yeah.
I think she'd be very proud of that.
That's awesome. Of course they're proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're proud of yourself for doing that as well. That's a big undertaking, outside the box sort of thing to do. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the legacy being built through everyday choices. So what are some simple ways that we all are creating our legacy without even realizing it?
Ooh, I like how you phrased that.
Yeah, because we're talking about it, like we say, you're telling me like, okay, we're building a legacy, and we are. And I could probably say a few things to that, but I want you to kind of share with us, what are some simple ways that you think we are? Because we all are.
You're right. We
No
all
doubt.
are. And I am learning as I go. Definitely not a master thing here. So
Well,
I would
even
say,
just what you just said, like outside the box, like making
yeah,
this big leap, like that'll be carried on
you're
as a
right.
legacy of yours. Yeah.
You are
So
right.
what
I
else?
I
What
agree
other
with
simple things? Yeah.
I would also say things that I think that build a legacy in the ordinary would be like, for me in my lane, would be learning how to like apologize to my kids when I'm wrong. Like, you know what? Mom is wrong in that. I am sorry. And just being able to say that and let that breathe for a moment is something that I feel like is building something there, so that they'll know, like, okay, adults aren't above reproach in that way. I also think that laughing at yourself builds something of a character within your family dynamic with who you are with, but also like friends and everything else, to know, like, yes, there are serious moments in life, but this is still a joy to be a part of. You're still it's so joyful to be living. So let's laugh at ourselves sometime. Let's just say, like, I really bombed that, didn't I? Like, wow, that was a misstep. That was unfortunate. And be able to enjoy that moment of learning and move on from it. I think those are two pivotal ways that stick out to me.
Good. So for homeschooling, being a homeschool mom, obviously you're very intentional about shaping your kids, that generation. So how has your understanding, you kind of alluded to this already, your understanding of that legacy influencing the way you parent?
Yeah, that understanding. For me, it's also like very faith-based, because being able to see yourself in your children, and in ways, and then in other ways where you're like, there's moments of like correction or even caution of, I don't want them to go down this way, or I want to encourage this particular thing, maybe in ways that I wasn't, for both of those avenues. But I think that being able to say or see yourself in your children and then cultivate the legacy from there helps, because I have to give that to God. Like, I'm just like, okay, Lord, it's me and you. How do I do this? You know, and that has been the basic foundation of it all. Everything's built up from there. I can't lay one brick without that foundation being there. And then I feel like I'm able to have joy in those moments, or even able to self-reflect in those moments to say, okay, you know, maybe we need to steer the course a different way, or be able to ask for forgiveness, like I mentioned, or things like that. That foundation is what kind of gears that. I hope I answered that question. I'm sorry. Did I land my plane right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I got it. I followed you the whole flight. I followed. Yeah. So I know one of the things I often see really when I'm coaching with people that they don't really always realize they're living from maybe an inherited belief or a family.
Yeah.
So, have you become more aware of beliefs you've intentionally chosen to keep, or perhaps ones you've decided to rewrite?
I love that question. I've become aware of that over
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
think that one that I would say is one that I could rewrite, or at least trying to navigate rewriting it, is the concept of rest.
Yes.
Holding that and realizing what that is. I was raised, my mom Margie was a single mom, amazing. And I always felt that she would be like the awesome homeschool mom. Had she had a life that was set up like that, like she just had patience. Like I just didn't understand. To this day, I'm like, how do you do this? And I think
Yeah.
that one thing that I could see now what she was trying to navigate was trying to obtain rest as a single mom. So me being married and having 4 kids, I'm also trying to understand that too. Now that's two different dynamics with the same issue in a sense. And trying to navigate what that means for me would be something I would like to rewrite or, give somewhat of a starter blueprint for my girls or even my sons even to go forward to know that rest can be something that you enjoy and something that you don't always have to earn.
I love that.
There's duality there for that, Sometimes, yeah, you work hard and there is enjoyment from that dopamine hit of accomplishing something, but there are other times where you need to pause and just cherish a moment without feeling like you have to work through it. And I'm
Yeah.
learning that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I love that you said that we don't earn a rest. We need rest as people. We need to rest. God had told us already, rest
Yeah,
on the seventh day, like he did. And we don't always do that. And I can
right.
say when I asked that question, I asked that because I've lived that.
Hmm.
I know that I was raised, and if people have been listening for a while, they know this. I have 12 siblings. So obviously in my household
Right.
growing up, there was always things to do. So
Hmm.
you were busy morning to night. And so then even with myself, moving into having my own family and moving into adulthood and even into my 30s, 40s, 50s, I will say that if I wasn't busy all day, I almost like, it was like a punishment. You have to be
Hmm.
busy. You have to be busy, busy, busy,
Yeah.
busy, 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 because it was how I was raised. So that was something that it was like, that was a generational something generational that
Hmm.
I was taught, and I'm sure my parents were taught that too.
Yeah.
Working on farms and stuff, you have to be busy
Oh,
to
yeah.
be productive. And as I got older, it's like, oh no, 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 no. I need rest. My body needs rest. I am much better for my clients, for my family, for everyone around me if I have rest. So that
Mm-hmm.
is definitely something that I changed, that kind of generational pattern and belief that has been instilled in me. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So I love that you're working towards that too, that
for sure.
especially rest. We're both on the same page with that. Rest is so, so important for
Yeah.
us to
I
make
never want to
sure.
get to the point where my body has to tell me.
Yeah,
Or in
because
any way. Anyway.
it will.
Yes, it will.
I kind of say that every time, like I get a cold or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got you. I'm resting. Thank you. Thank you for forcing me to rest. I got it. Okay, I got it
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So
Put
true.
rest into my day.
Yes. And I like that. Into your day. Not
Yeah.
like once a month. Not,
Yeah.
into your days.
No.
I love that.
So, if someone's listening and realizing they're carrying beliefs, maybe that no longer serve them, like we just talked about,
Yeah.
whether it's about being enough, maybe, or always having to be strong and busy, or putting someone else first, because that's what we do as women. All
Right?
of those beliefs that we need to do. We need
Yeah.
to serve everyone. We need to be the pleaser. We need to do all of those things. Where would you encourage them to begin with what you know in a shift in that?
I think
Thoughts on that?
my thoughts towards that would be of a village mindset
Mm,
or one of mentorship, discipleship. And I say that because I think I have gleaned some of the most beautiful words, encouraging words, loving rebukes, stern corrections in moments where I'm around other women, other families who have similar or not similar situations as me, but are willing to just have open conversation with me. You don't necessarily have to go into it even knowing what needs to be rewritten. Sometimes it's just after hearing something, you kind of, that bulb goes off and you're like, oh, wait, I kind of do understand that. And that resonates with me more. And I think having people in your village and around you to kind of just not, and I say village more than anything because I think that it doesn't have to look like your family to be your village, you know? It doesn't, your people are just the people you choose. And I think that once the trust is developed, you're able to see and glean from people in ways that allow you to see those things that need to be rewritten if you don't know already. So I think that's probably where I would start. Like, get your people, get your tribe, and go from there, whether that's church, life group, a life coach, as you mentioned yourself, a pastor, or whatever that is. And I don't think that will fail you. I don't think that will.
Yeah. So then you believe that we can honor our family's legacy while still maybe giving ourselves permission to go in a different direction.
For sure. Of course. I love how you put that. Yes, because while generations before me, I didn't necessarily know what the village was or who their people were. But slowly but surely, you know, as life goes on, I'm like, oh, that was my grandma's best friend. Oh, and she's total opposite of her. You know, like, what do they talk about? Like, you know, or, oh, that was my mom's girlfriend from the past. Oh, that's why I call her aunt. You know, like things like that. And these are now people who have affected my life, who have now kind of touched me in ways that I'm like, oh, so that means you had to have this relationship to open up, to dialogue with, and to have these relationships that built you to the woman you are. Same here. And I think that may look different, but have it nonetheless. Keeping it in, I don't think it's ever going to serve us as well. I mean, between you and the Lord, of course, but I think that he created his church for a reason.
For sure. So still talking about grief, I know that many of the listeners that listen to the podcast are grieving not only the loss of someone they love, but sometimes the loss of who they used to be. And we've kind of been talking about that a little bit. What would you say to those women who are wondering if maybe she doesn't feel like herself or would like to feel like herself again? You know, and some of the things that you just said kind of reflect on that, point to that, but anything else you'd like to add into that?
Yeah, in addition to, I believe, like the village mentality, our mindset, I think also just learning, because life can be busy. So if you just have a few things that you like to do, like me, I have this jar. I need to get better at using it, but I have this jar. And it's just paper that I've written down, like, I like to color, I like to paint, or I like, read this book or something like that. And I fold it up, I put it in the jar, and then I will just randomly pull out something, especially in those moments where it's heavy. It's heavy on me. Like, I feel disconnected from myself. And I think having a touchstone like that will bring you some sense of yourself. It'll bring you back aware. Like, okay, this may not feel good, whatever I'm going through, but at least I'm connecting with it in a way that I was distracted by before.
I love that exercise. It's almost like a recentering yourself.
Yeah.
Bringing you back to just recenter and just relax and do something you enjoy and something simple that can be done, you know.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So if the listeners are walking away, what would you want them to remember? Just one thing from our conversation today. What would you hope that would be that they would remember from this conversation?
That not only is legacy built in the ordinary, but that your life is valuable. It's valuable. That's why it's being built, that it matters. That would be key. Very, very important.
Awesome. Great. If you would share real quick before we conclude the book title, where people can find that. If you want me or us to put anything in the show notes of where they can find you, I would love for you to share that because I think it's an amazing book and I want people to be able to connect with you in that book if they would like to.
Yes, awesome. So yes, what my mother never
There's
told
the book. Beautiful, beautiful cover if you're watching the video.
Please watch the video, see the book. Amazon. I will definitely be sending the link over. You can just search the title. We reached number 2 in our mother and childhood category in Amazon very quickly. So that's such a major accomplishment that we're very proud of.
Nice.
Social media wise, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Jasmyne Cole on Facebook, Mrs. J. Cole on Instagram, as well as Graceful on both.
Okay. I want to thank you really so much for sharing really from your heart today. I kind of maybe stumped you a little bit with a couple of questions, but I loved how you were, just responded to all of the questions that we talked about. Just very, very heartfelt. And I think one of the greatest reminders from this conversation is that legacy isn't found in grand accomplishments. It's really found, like you said, in those ordinary moments. And it's found in how we love, how we forgive, how we show up, and the stories we're willing to tell. So loss has ways of helping us see what truly matters. Yeah. While grieving changes us, it also invites us to become more intentional with the life we're still living. So to everyone listening, I'd encourage you to think about this. What legacy are you building today? Not someday, not years from now, but today. What legacy are you building? Because someone is learning from the way you love, the way you persevere, and the way you continue moving forward. And today's conversations, if it stirred anything in you today, share it with somebody. This is an invitation for you to ask the women in your life more questions, to write down your own story, and to simply tell someone you love what has meant to you while you still can. Yeah. For sure. So Jasmyne, thank you for the reminder, for reminding all of us that our stories matter. Yeah. Our everyday choices matter. And the legacy is something we privilege to live, not just leave behind. So until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for carrying stories, sharing your stories, and thank you for reminding others that love continues. We're honored to walk this journey with you. And as you move through your day, may you feel held, supported, and not alone. And reminded that even the hardest moments, there is still space to heal, hope, and have life after loss. So until next time, this is Teresa with Female Voices, Life and Loss.
Thanks for listening to Female Voices, Life and Loss. If this episode resonated with you, helped you feel seen, or gave language to something you've been carrying, we invite you to share it with someone who may need it. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss future episodes and the powerful voices still to come.